In the spring of 1886, London was full of life. Horse-drawn carriages moved along busy streets. Gas lamps glowed at night, and people from every part of society filled the city. In a small corner near Covent Garden, a young woman named Rose Bennett sold flowers every day. Rose was 19 years old, kind-hearted and hard-working. She lived with her grandmother in a tiny apartment above a bakery. Their life was simple and money was often scarce, but Rose always tried to stay cheerful. Every morning, she arranged colorful flowers into small bouquets and sold them to people passing through the market. Many customers remembered her bright smile. Rose dreamed of seeing more of the world one day, but she knew dreams were often difficult for people with little money. One rainy afternoon, business was slow. Most people hurried past without stopping. Rose stood beneath a small umbrella, trying to protect her flowers from the rain. Suddenly, a gentleman rushing through the crowd accidentally bumped into her stand. Several bouquets fell to the ground. "Oh no!" Rose cried. The gentleman immediately knelt down and began collecting the flowers. "I'm terribly sorry," he said. Rose looked at him and noticed he was young, handsome, and dressed in expensive clothes. His dark hair was wet from the rain, and his face showed genuine concern. "It's all right," Rose replied. Together they gathered the flowers. Before leaving, the gentleman bought every bouquet she had left. Rose stared in surprise. "You don't have to do that." He smiled warmly. "Maybe I simply enjoy flowers." Then he tipped his hat and disappeared into the crowd. Rose watched him leave and wondered if she would ever see him again. The next morning, she was arranging flowers when she noticed the same gentleman approaching. "Good morning," he said. Rose smiled. "Good morning. I hope your flowers survived yesterday's storm." Rose laughed softly. "Most of them did." The gentleman introduced himself as Henry Whitmore. He explained that he worked for his father's business and often traveled through the city. Over the next few weeks, Henry visited the flower stand regularly. Sometimes he bought flowers. Sometimes he simply stopped to talk. Rose enjoyed their conversations. Henry spoke kindly to everyone and never acted superior despite his wealth. He seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts and dreams. Soon, Rose began looking forward to seeing him each day. One sunny afternoon, Henry asked if she would like to walk through Hyde Park after work. Rose hesitated. She had never spent time alone with a gentleman before. Yet something about Henry made her feel comfortable. "I would like that," she said. That evening, they walked beneath the trees while the setting sun painted the sky gold. They talked about books, family, and their hopes for the future. Rose discovered that Henry loved painting and often sketched scenes around London. Henry learned that Rose dreamed of owning a flower shop one day. The hours passed quickly. For the first time in many years, Rose felt truly happy. As spring turned into summer, their friendship grew stronger. They met often. Sometimes they walked through parks. Sometimes they visited museums or watched boats on the River Thames. The more time they spent together, the more they cared about one another. Yet both knew there was a problem. Henry came from a wealthy family. Rose was a flower seller. In Victorian London, people from different social classes rarely married. One evening, Henry finally gathered the courage to speak honestly. "Rose," he said softly, "I think about you constantly." Rose's heart began to race. Henry looked into her eyes. "I care about you more than I ever expected." Rose felt warmth spread through her chest. "I care about you too," she admitted. From that day forward, they were no longer simply friends. They were in love. For a while, everything seemed perfect. Then trouble arrived. Henry's father learned about the relationship. Mr. Whitmore was a successful businessman who cared deeply about social status. When Henry told him about Rose, he was furious. "A flower seller?" he said. "You cannot be serious." Henry remained calm. "I love her." His father shook his head. "Love is not enough," Henry argued, but nothing changed. His father insisted that he end the relationship immediately. Meanwhile, Rose began hearing rumors. Some people said Henry would eventually leave her. Others claimed his family would never accept her. The comments hurt deeply, but Rose tried to remain hopeful. One afternoon, Henry arrived at the flower stand looking troubled. Rose immediately knew something was wrong. He explained his father's objections. Rose listened quietly. When he finished, she forced a smile. "Perhaps your father is right." Henry looked shocked. "No." Rose lowered her eyes. "We come from different worlds." Henry gently took her hand. "The only world I care about is the one where you're in it." Tears filled Rose's eyes. Yet despite his words, both knew the situation was becoming difficult. Several weeks passed. The pressure from Henry's family increased. Friends encouraged him to choose someone from his own social class. Rose worried that she was becoming a burden. Finally, she made a painful decision. She wrote Henry a short letter asking him not to visit anymore. She believed she was protecting him. When Henry received the letter, he was heartbroken. For days, he wandered through London unable to think about anything else. He realized that life without Rose felt empty. Then one evening, his grandmother invited him for tea. After hearing the entire story, she smiled knowingly. "Your grandfather was a carpenter when I met him," she said. Henry looked surprised. "Really?" She nodded. "My family disapproved too." Henry stared at her. "What happened?" She laughed softly. "I married him anyway." Her words stayed with Henry. The next morning, he made a decision. He visited Rose's flower stand. When she saw him, her heart skipped a beat. "Why are you here?" she asked quietly. Henry smiled. "Because I love you." Rose looked away. "Your family will learn to accept it." Rose stared at him. Henry continued. "I spent weeks worrying about what everyone else thought. But none of them have to live my life. I do." Tears filled Rose's eyes once more. "Are you sure?" Henry gently held her hands. "I've never been more sure of anything." Several months later, Henry proposed in Hyde Park beneath the same trees where they had taken their first walk. Rose happily accepted. Although some members of Henry's family remained unhappy, others slowly changed their minds after meeting Rose. Her kindness and warmth won many hearts. A year later, they were married in a small church surrounded by friends and family. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Afterward, Henry helped Rose achieve her dream. Together they opened a flower shop near Covent Garden. The shop became successful, and customers loved hearing the story of how its owners had met. Years later, whenever someone asked Rose about the secret to happiness, she always smiled and pointed toward Henry. Love had found her on a rainy afternoon, when she least expected it. It had crossed social barriers, ignored public opinion, and survived difficult challenges. Most importantly, it had taught her that true love is not measured by wealth, status, or background. It is measured by two people choosing each other every day. And in the busy streets of Victorian London, that choice changed both their lives forever.